My name's Chelsea Badger and I photograph under the name Littlek Photography, and I'm primarily a music and wedding photographer. The first time that I really realised that music photography was kind of the road that I wanted to go down, I was 15, so I was in year 10, and I was sitting at the back of the library in one of my study periods, and I was on this music party blog run by this girl called Sarah Barber. She had this really kind of stylized, beautiful way that when you looked at these music photos, they weren't just the photos you would see in a magazine or in the newspaper. They really just had so much emotion and feeling behind them. And I remember looking at these photos and being like, this is what I need to do. I'd always had a passion for photography before that, but it was seeing her work and how she managed to take such an emotional viewpoint towards it that was really inspiring for me. For the photography side of my life, a normal day would probably be, say, if I was photographing a festival, the night before I put everything on charge, all my batteries, all my camera batteries, make sure all my SD cards are clear, my portable charger is charged up. So yeah, there's a lot of organisation that goes into prior, and then get to the festival, usually tell the people at the box office my name, who I'm shooting for, and they usually tell me I'm not on the list. So then I usually have to call who I'm shooting for and be like, oh hey, I'm here, but I'm not on the list, and then yeah, so then they come get me, I go in, yeah, and then I photograph, and then I leave, and then I edit my photos, they go into Dropbox, they go straight to the client, and repeat, basically. Actually, the app that's probably opened the most on my phone is this app called Rooster, and Rooster combines my calendar and my reminder lists together in this really simple format. That's open a lot because obviously when you work 5 jobs, you need to know your entire week at a time, and you need to know when you do have that spare time to do stuff. So that's open a lot, and that saves my life. Editing, I like Viso. I love that new Sparkle Cam app where it picks up the light and it turns it into sparkles. Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm incredibly open with my life, so there's not a lot about me that's not out there. Especially now that I've started blogging, I've been finding that when I write blogs about things that are quite personal, they do have a really high engagement rate, and people are really they're messaging me and they're talking to me about it. Like one of my recent blogs, I was talking about getting my implant on, and it went like fire. Everybody wanted to tell me about their experience, which was so good for me because I was really stressed about it. So yeah, at the moment I'm running Littlek basically 24/7, taking bookings, doing photo sessions, weddings, events, working for musicians, blah, blah, blah. But I also work as a swim teacher, so I've been doing that for almost 4 years. So I'm swim teaching, I run all the social media for my swim school, so that's the 3rd job. I also work at my university in the study abroad office, and I run all the social media for them. So pushing out different programs for current students to go abroad and study. And my 5th job is I work for a summer camp agency. So I work as an interviewer, and I do interviews with people that want to go over and work on camp. The most challenging thing about working as a photographer is definitely the first couple of years you're doing it. It's an industry where trust and loyalty are so important. So you do spend a lot of time doing a lot of free work and building relationships, and sometimes it can get to the point where you're like, is this going to be worth it? Am I working too much for too little? So yeah, the start of my photography business was so difficult, and it took a lot of willpower to just keep going and just kind of have that faith in myself that the right thing would happen when it needed to happen, and thank God it did. So now it's not as challenging, but I think the challenges I have now are more related to being creative, so wanting to produce stuff that's a little bit different every time, so I'm not producing the same photos, yeah, and just pushing myself to really go as far as I can. I don't know, there's so many hurdles with photography. There's so many, from trying to figure out the right pathway to go with photography, because there's no kind of you do this degree, you get a job here, and then that's where you continue on to. Everybody's journey as a photographer starts and continues in such a different way. It takes a lot of willpower to deal with those kind of hurdles, especially not knowing what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and how it's going to happen. I think it's just a lot of mental strength and kind of having enough belief that it will happen when it's going to happen. You just kind of have to hold on and just keep doing your best until it does. I had a bit of a moment in the end of 2015 when I was on my gap year and I'd come back from 3 months in America where I was working on a summer camp. I just left everything Little K behind in Australia, and I remember getting home to Perth from that and I'd had the best experience of my life in America, but not feeling like I'd almost left for so long that I disadvantaged myself and that I was never going to be able to get back to where I was before then. That was really, really tricky. I reached out to a few people. I reached out to Asta and I reached out to, I think it was Dina also, and they both pretty much said the same thing to me. They were like, it's never ever going to be a smooth road when you're a creative. There are going to be these kind of, not setbacks, but these moments where you really do doubt yourself and you think, maybe this isn't for me, maybe I'm wasting my time. But they just said you just kind of have to hold on and keep working and keep being positive and just trying to understand that everything you do will have an impact, whether it's little or big, and then one day it'll get to that point where you're like, God, I'm so glad I just kept working and kept on with it. The most rewarding parts of being a photographer is definitely when you have a client that isn't very comfortable in front of a camera or is a bit nervous about it, and then you can work with them and build that friendship and that like relationship between not only you and the person, but you, the camera, and the person. And to be able to show someone a photo and just have their face light up and be like, wow, I actually really like that photo. That's something that since day one, even when I was taking photos in high school at parties, there were girls that would literally only let me take their photo because they only trusted me because they knew I would only put good photos of them up. Yeah, it's really nice to create photos for someone when they really appreciate it, and you just know that they'll be looking back at these photos and they'll really feel the memories and the emotions behind it. The last song I pressed play on was when I turned my car on this morning. I have my Reputation CD in my car, and it was Delicate by Taylor Swift. And I'm pretty sure the next song I'll press play on will probably be another Taylor Swift song at the moment. The only time I take my Taylor Swift CD out of my car is when the next Taylor Swift album comes out. Times when I do feel the most myself and the most empowered and like really I'm killing it is probably when I'm photographing, especially when I'm having a really good day. I'm getting exactly the shots that I want. I'm having great engagement with my client. That's kind of when I feel my strongest and most empowered. But there are a lot of things that you have to do to kind of get to that point. I still get so nervous before gigs, and I literally have to sit there and be like, you've done this 100 times before, you know what you're doing, you're gonna be fine. But there's always a part of my head that's like, what if you stuff it up? What if they don't like you? What if you don't do the right thing or whatever? I have a really simple formula of measuring my personal success. As long as what I'm doing right now is a little bit better than what I was doing at the same time last year, then I'm successful. That's it. I'm so lucky because I have so many people in my life that are incredibly inspiring. I think we're the lucky generation where we have both men and women to look up to and equally say, wow, that's so inspiring. For me, yeah, obviously Taylor Swift. Like she's been the #1 inspiration since I was literally like 10 or 11. So the way she kind of tackles life and tackles the press and her creative flow and stuff like that, that's very inspiring. I ricochet through life by having a lot of planning, a lot of organisation and a lot of really big goals. I believe that the bigger your goal is, no matter what you do when you're trying to get there, everything's going to be successful kind of thing. And if you never do reach it, that's fine, because you've reached so many things in between that you probably thought you wouldn't be able to do. And having a really healthy mind too is really, really important to me. Everyone has those little demons in their head that are telling them they can't do things, and it's just kind of learning to hear it but not to take it on kind of thing, and understand that everyone goes through it. Yeah.